My grandfather, Fred Valov, came over from Russia during the I guess it was the revolution, what they had during the turn of the century. And they were slaughtering a lot of the people because of the religious beliefs. And so they decided his father was Kuzma Valov, and he brought his family over to Ellis Island probably in 1904, 1905, something like that. And they started a life together here in Los Angeles, California. And later on, my grandfather, Fred, my father's father, decided he wanted to be a farmer in Bakersfield. So they moved to Bakersfield probably in the early 40s, late 30s. And he was also a preacher of the Russian Molokhan Church, which the Russian Molokhan Church it's not the Orthodox Church, we're more like a Protestant or a Baptist. And so he had a congregation there of probably 50 to 100 people in the Shafter, Bakersfield area, and it still resides today. But he was a preacher there for 41 years. So, and it was his job to make sure that other people that came from Russia or from around had a place to live, and he would actually give people money to put a down payment on different homes and ranches just so they could start their life here in America. So I think it all kind of started from him. You know, he's the one that kind of started doing this. It was I've always thought about that he had 10 children in his family, and he would help outsiders more than he would help his own children sometimes. So and I think that's kind of where my father, John, got the idea. He watched his father give away a lot of things to a lot of people, which maybe he thought should go to the kids, but he chose to help other families in his congregation. My father farmed, actually he had calves. He never did graduate high school. He was a freshman in high school, and he quit. And he took calves from Bakersfield and hauled them over the hill on the Grapevine to LA, where they slaughtered the calves and to make veal. And he did that all the way until he was probably 20 years old, 22 years old, and then he bought his first piece of farm ground there in Wasco. And that's where he started farming, and he wanted to branch out, and it just didn't, the land was just too expensive in Kern County at that time for him. So he decided in 1957, and he had a partner named Jim Snooks Barber, JJ Farms. They started a farming operation together right outside in Tulare County, right outside Corcoran, in a little town of Angola. They bought 1,000 acres, paid $200 an acre for it, and bought it from Billy Boswell. Well, the Boswell's from the lake bottom out there. And Billy would always brag inside the bars later that he'd get that ranch back. Them guys would be no way they could make that ranch work. Well, we just sold that ranch maybe 3 years ago, and I think he received $10,000 an acre. So it made a great return. I was very happy with my father doing that, and him moving to Tulare, and that's where we had our roots. They went and he farmed cotton, grain, alfalfa, was a friend of a lot of the dairymen, supplied a lot of dairymen hay for their cows, and that's what we did. As 6 years old, I remember spraying weeds, raking hay with my brothers, him waking us up in the morning, go rake hay, come back, go to school, or summertime, same way. Rake hay in the morning, spray weeds in the afternoon. And we would complain because we never got paid. So it's just one of them deals. He said, finally, you get 50 cents an hour. So it was 50 cents an hour till I was 16 years old. And I'm sure there's a lot of stories in this room that they could tell other people getting the same thing. We were a hardworking family. I had an older brother, John, Jay, and then another one, Terry, and then there was myself. And then I have My sister Kimberly came along, and then my sister Manya. So there was 5 of us, and living out there in Waukena. We were in a little flat top house, and then my dad decided to build another home. So we went a mile south of Waukena School, and he built us a big 3,500 square foot home. It was kind of like state of the art at that time. You know, he really wanted to make it right. It took him a couple of years to build it, but he got it done, and that's where we lived the rest of our lives until we moved out. Younger in my years, I think it was 9 or 10 years old, we always had 4-H. 4-H was a big thing back then. In fact, our little Waukena club is over 100 and some years old now, I believe. It's one of the oldest first clubs of 4-H ever. So we just so happened to live next to the oldest 4-H club around. Everybody from everywhere would come to Waukena to go to 4-H and do their project with their lamb and sewing and canning and, you know, beef and everything. So I was always involved in 4-H from 9 to all the way up to 18. I would always do 4-H. I showed beef animals, and I showed dairy animals, and the Curdies were there, and we were really close to them, and we did things together. Emilio Curdy was a big part of that, and it also was my father, John. He would help the kids. And then the other thing we used to do a lot of is we threw on the big shish kebab. I think everybody remembers the PPAV hall, still does it to this day. But before that, in the 70s, the 60s and the 70s, my father, Leo Curdy, a lot of the other farmers around from Corcoran would all put on a big shish kebab party where we would help buy the 4-H lambs for all the young kids, and we'd buy them, we would cut them up, we would season them, marinate them with onions, we made shish kebab. And we put them in 5-gallon buckets, and then we would freeze them. And then we figure up a day of the party, and it was always at the Corcoran Airport in Corcoran. And I remember lots of people came from all around. Everybody wanted to be a part of that. You know, the Sawyers wanted to donate lambs, the Gilkeys wanted to donate lambs, Hansons, everybody that was something to do with Corcoran and Tulare would donate lambs to the deal just to throw on a party. So it was something they did for many, many years before the PPAV, and I'm not sure a lot of people know about that, but I'm glad PPAV took it over because it was a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of help. And sometimes you only got a couple people doing all the help. So, but that was something that I learned to do, and probably where I learned to cook. So we, to this day, I still do shish kebab parties for different things and funerals, and if somebody passes away that I know very well, that, a lamb's going to end up on their door. So it's just something we do as a group. All my friends, we get together and we do the same thing. So high school, I went to Tulare Western High School after 9 years in Waukena Elementary, kindergarten 8th. Tulare Western, I took, whatever your father wants you to take. He wants you to take the metal classes and welding and wood classes, and I still love them. And I still enjoy doing that today. But I was born to be a farmer, and I think, and that's why I enjoy it so much. I think I went through all my years at Tulare Western, graduated in 1976. I went to COS for a year in '77. Did the same thing there, welding and ag classes, and then went to Fresno. Went to Fresno for 1 year. Was planning on going there 2 more. My father picked up a big ranch on the other side of Corcoran, and he says, it's time to come home. I need your help. We've got a big ranch to take care of, and I want to make sure that, everything gets done correctly. Not that I knew anything what to do. I was getting thrown in the fire under 20 years old, so it was a challenge, believe me. Well, actually, it was about 1985. I had my first opportunity to grow almond trees. My aunt and uncle bought an orchard in Wasco, and they decided that they wanted me to manage it for them. So I was very excited about that, managing and being a partner in their almond orchard. So that probably had to be the middle 80s, and I farm it to this day still. They took a chance on me, and they allowed me to go ahead and farm it. I made a lot of mistakes, but eventually we ended up with payday. The almond price back then was not too good. It was up and down, very sporadic, but that's where I pretty much learned how to grow almonds and what to do and what not to do. I had another opportunity later on in the early 2000s. A bank of ours knew that I grew almonds in Wasco, and they had somebody that was going to lose a ranch during foreclosure. Banks don't like to foreclose on property. They would rather somebody else walk in, take it, and then move on. They were capable. They said, you know how to grow almonds. We want you. We will finance you on this and allow you to go ahead and expand if you'd like. That was a big deal for me. But I figured I was 40 years old, and I figured this is the chance to do it. So I went ahead and took it. It happened again the following year. They had another rancher that was tired of low almond prices, was tired of farming almonds, and they did the same thing with that ranch. So my acres just kept increasing and increasing on growing almonds. So that was my first stuff that I've done on my own without my family, and ended up, almond prices at that time were like 75, 85 cents a pound, and all they did was just go up after that. The next year they were $1.50, next year they were $2.25, following year was $3.50, and I finally got to start making money, and then I started developing more pistachios in Corcoran area where I already had some land. After picking up that big ranch in Corcoran, he says that you can finish school when you, later. Well, I'm still waiting to finish school. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. 1983 came along, and my father took off and went to Japan with my stepmother. We had an opportunity to plant some trees while he was gone, and we've tried to talk to him, but he just did not want to plant any type of permanent crops. He says, we've made our money growing cotton, we're going to grow cotton. So we had an opportunity, me and my brother Terry, we had a friend that would allow us to go ahead and take the trees and plant them, as long as we would pay them back someday. So we went ahead, while my father was gone for 2 weeks, we went in there and put in small acres of pistachios, our first planting in 1983. Pioneer Golds with Kerman, root, with the budding. So that was really exciting. We weren't sure if we were going to get fired when he got home or not, but he just says, don't do it again. So, but again in 1984, we did put another block in. And again in 87, and again in 89, and again in 93. So he got wind that at some time, he says it's probably a good thing that we do diversify, and it didn't look like it was going to hurt us too much, but he knew that someday it would be a payday with growing the permanent crops. In 1988, we formed a partnership between my brothers and my father called Valov and Sons Farming. It was the first time my dad brought us in as partners to actually be a partner in a farm. And it also helped out with our limitations on farm subsidies, so we had to do whatever we could to survive. And that was one of the big things to do to survive, was to work with the subsidies and do what you had to do, farm and not farm. And so we were part of that till this day. And now I'm partners with my sisters after my dad passed away. So my sisters, my brother John, Jay, and Terry, and myself are now still partners in Valov and Sons Farming. Valov and Sons Farming consisted of, at times, 5,000 acres. Now I think we're down to about 2,000 acres. We grow alfalfa, corn, pistachios. And let me tell you about pistachios. They're good for you. And everyone needs to eat lots of pistachios. And they're good for your heart. They have lots of fiber. And there's also a story that they're an aphrodisiac. And it's called the love nut. So I wanted to make sure you guys were all aware of that. 1997, I met the love of my life, Tammy. She's so much like me. It's really kind of scary, but I know we're a great match. I have several people tell me the same thing. If you know her, you would know what I'm talking about. She had a child, Cheyenne, with a previous marriage, and then we decided to start our own family together. I have Jimmy, Jay, he's my oldest son. He's 16, just got his driver's license, and then Jade's 14, and then there's my precious little girl. I ended up with another girl of Journey. She's 10. So I have 2 girls and 2 boys. And we started our life together out there in Waukena, and then we decided, we were outgrowing. Journey was living in us in our room, and it was a 12 by 12. It wasn't a lot of room to work around. The boys were together. Cheyenne was cramped. Everybody was cramped in the other house. So we decided to venture out and build a home and decide to move to Tulare because our kids go to Tulare Christian, and I didn't want my wife driving in the fog and with all them silage trucks driving around. So we chose to move to town. We found a large lot in downtown Tulare, and we built our dream home together. So, it's a great place to be. We have lots of fundraisers here. We try to accommodate whoever we can. We do 2 or 3 a year. We do a few birthday parties, and we have a lot of family gatherings and friends gathering. Some of the organizations that we like to help and support. We've always supported the 4-H and FFA. For years, I've told you about my father buying lambs, and we do that to this day. I mean, we're always there at the fair buying 4-H kids' lambs and help supporting and bring the prices up so it's a decent price where they can make some money. So they're allowed to go back and do it again. Sometimes we didn't even have the money to pay it, but we still found a way to make it happen. We've always felt that you give till it hurts, and then go ahead and just give some more. We're big supporters of the Tulare City Library, the nice new one that we have here in town. We're so proud of it. Me and my wife, Tammy, are just ecstatic over the way they did everything and how it's ran. We're happy that it's being used so much. It's maybe not used by us so much as a family. We do go in there periodically, but to a lot of other families that can't afford a computer or can't afford to buy books, we feel that's very, very special and needs to be done. Tulare Christian School is dear and kind to our heart. We've been there we have 4 children that's been there. 2's graduated. We have 2 more to go. It's a little school. Sometimes we don't even get over 100 children there, but our Christian values, we want to have somewhere to send our kids. It's been hard, but and thank goodness to my friends again. They're always there helping me support. We have fundraisers in our backyard. They always have my back. They always help me and my wife. We try to make it fun, so it's like a little party. And they always tease me, but we're glad to have them there, and we really want to keep that little school going as much as we can. We also, the Catholic schools and everyone else, all the other schools, we love supporting all of them. We have lots of friends that go to St. Aloysius and different things. We love supporting all schools. In your corner is the Manuel Torres Boxing Club. We feel is a really strong, it keeps some of the kids off the street and gives them something to do. We think it's a great opportunity to help these children that having ways to do the right thing. So me and Tammy also, we have fundraisers once a year in our backyard for them with Kim Torres and her husband. The Lighthouse Women's Shelter, you know, that's a great honor to help that. Giving clothes to women that are battered and children not knowing where to go. I think it's I think everyone should be involved in that. If you're not, you should. Tulare Historical Society, friends help us with that. I mean, anything to do with Tulare, you'll find the Valov family involved. We want to help the Historical Society, the ag community, anything here in Tulare. We just want to make sure that they know we're here, and that's why they ask. So we want to know that our door is open to them. I'm on the board, committee chair of the American Pistachio Association Growers. Been very, fulfilling. For years I rode the coat on other people that were in the commission. I just felt it was time for me to get on there and do my part. I'll be off in one more year, so I feel like I've done my part to the American Pistachio Growers. Next year hopefully I'll be president, if they allow me, in Palm Desert, 2016. I'm also the WPA, Western Pistachio Association president of, it's a PAC for political, trying to keep our industry safe from outside sources, trying to keep tariffs on hold to make sure that they pay and we don't mess up our pistachio production. As far as our growing and the knowledge about how pistachios are good for your health, good fiber, that lowers your cholesterol, it's good for your heart. They are an aphrodisiac. Just wanted to put that across.